So when we're grieving, grief is a small word that accounts for so much, and there's so much underneath this whole topic of grief. So many little triggers, so many little everyday occasions and occurrences that can cause a person in that state to just go back into crying or anger from the point where they were like quite fine, or maybe they were going along okay in the morning and something happened and they can just spend the rest of the afternoon completely different. And it's quite a shock when people are grieving to realise that they can have these immense extremes of emotion. And, you know, even little tiny things that you would not suspect would cause any kind of problem can just be like huge. It can cause you to go into a huge reaction. So people can feel like quite angry and have angry outbursts, even though they've never ever been angry in their life. And this might be like anger over just the very fact that their partner has died and that they're left to carry on. Perhaps it's anger that they promised to be together forever, and that situation could not be realised. It might be anger at medical professionals and the way the loved one was cared for in their final days, final weeks, final months. Might even be doctors. It might be something like the food that your loved one was served, or whether they were allowed to, you know, die with dignity, or were they denied something. It might be just anger that that person's the one surviving whilst their partner's gone. And sometimes the grieving person actually feels like they would have liked to be the ones to go, and that their life is worth nothing now that their partner's gone. And some people who are grieving literally wish that it would all end and that they just wouldn't wake up one morning, because they just don't know what to do anymore. They don't know how to process it. They don't know how to cope with any of it. And people in that early stage of grief can really feel very much sort of stuck down deep in those feelings. Like there's literally no light until they've really moved through those dark, dark times. And then, you know, the light will start to come, and little things will start to happen where it seems like progress from the day before. And they can feel a bit stronger and capable, more capable of doing things that they couldn't have done the day before. One of the hardest things about grief is the fact that the people who were in your life while your loved one was alive may not be around anymore. It could be the parents of the deceased person. They just might go no contact. And that might be because they're grieving so heavily that they can't manage talking to you at the moment. Maybe they're in bed. They just can't get up out of bed. They're not functional. I mean, you just don't know what's going on in their lives. And it would be so nice to be able to connect with the parents of the loved one who's passed away, just to share in the grief and feel that closeness that, okay, your loved one's not there, but you can hang out with their family. Feel like part of the family. And so if that happens to you, you might just need to give it some time, persevere, and maybe try to get some messages through, even if it's just to let them know that you care, and I know you need care as well. Sometimes friends can go missing, and this can be particularly heartbreaking when you might have been there for, when they've had a loss in the family, and you've been that friend to them, and then when it's your turn and you need support and care and friendship and kindness, they're just sort of missing. Or maybe you used to be invited somewhere as a couple and now you don't get those invitations anymore. Maybe as well you have been invited and you've just kind of forgotten through the haze. And some people do get invited to places and just think, no, I couldn't never go. Because the person that's grieving feels like they're in such a dark, heavy cloud of sort of feeling really down that they wouldn't want to bring it upon their friends. They feel like they're bringing this dark cloud to wherever they're going. And so they may turn down invitations to come around or go to a barbecue. And I mean, if you get an invitation to go somewhere that you would have gone to as a couple, maybe try to not commit one way or the other until the actual day when you get a feel for how how you're feeling on that day, because you might say yes and then on that day just think, I can't. Or, if you don't commit to saying yes, then you've still got that little bit of freedom to be able to say, yes, I'd like to go, or no, I don't want to go. Or you could just say, you know what, no matter what I'm feeling, I'm going to go. I'll take each moment as it comes. I'll talk to everybody in due time, or maybe they'll come to me and we'll just deal with it as a group of friends. We'll cry. No doubt we'll cry. But whatever happens, you can be around your friends and let them support you. Tell them what you need. If you do want to just go off into a room by yourself or with one other person, take time out or go for a small walk outside, and even go around the block just to get away from everybody. Go and sit in your car if you need to. It's completely okay. And it's okay to not know how you'll feel from one day to the next. So take the time you need. Give yourself lots of space and freedom to allow for your changing mind. Because you might say yes to something on a Monday, and then when it comes to Saturday, you think, no, I can't do it. And so if you keep it open the whole time, and then when it comes to Saturday, you can literally say, all right, well, in this moment, do I want to get ready and go, or don't I? But you can be patient with yourself. No one will expect you to be, up and positive and enthusiastic about things. I mean, I think sometimes we forget that people are quite kind, even though they may say some things that don't seem very supportive at the time, or they don't seem to have any understanding what we feel. They're only coming from their experience, so their limited experience. They're also under pressure. They might feel pressure to make you feel better, or to say something that gets you to a better place. And although it can be incredibly hurtful to hear something like, if someone says, "Oh, I know exactly how you feel. This happened to, my nana when she lost her husband." And you think to yourself, no. For one thing, you can't know how I feel. And for another thing, it didn't even happen to you. There might be that part of you in that moment to just think, you know what, I can't be bothered. I haven't even got the words to explain anything, and I'm just going to let it go. I think it would be a rare person who would actually mean to hurt you in that moment. And if you do feel like they're trying to hurt you, then I don't know why you'd be around that person. But if they're the kind of person that would say something like that, then just let it go. I know it's not easy, but you've got your own feelings to focus on rather than worrying about the intention of someone else. And in society, there won't be many people that are actually qualified in grief counselling, so chances are they're not going to know what to say. But just not to let this stop you from being around other people and getting that solace and that companionship from other people. Even if they do say a strange thing from time to time, it's that warmth and connection that could really help. And yeah, just being patient with everything, with yourself, with your emotions, with your healing, with what you can and can't do right now. And being patient with your changing moods, your changing feelings. And understanding that you can smile, you can laugh, and you're not disrespecting anyone's memory. You can still be you. And you can put on a comedy and laugh and not feel bad. Just be patient with yourself, your own emotions. Because every single person who's grieving is different. And no two people are alike. There might be similarities, but the experience you bring into the moment when your person passes away and you're grieving, how you've been brought up, your beliefs, your experience, your current state at the time, they're all going to play a part. And so no one will ever truly understand what it is you feel. And in a way, that's okay, because we also don't understand what other people feel. We can't truly understand what other people feel. And at one point, you might feel like it's the worst it's ever been. And this feeling might just sort of come out of the blue after you've had like a run of good days. Do whatever you need to do to find those moments of beauty, gratitude, and remember the love rather than the loss, rather than the sorrow. Remember the love, remember the blessing that you had. You still have, that love is still inside you. It's still going somewhere. And I know the physical person isn't there. It's one of the hardest things for us humans to cope with, is that you could be here in a physical form and then you're not. But then you've still got that essence of you. It's hard to cope with. So that essence is still there. It's still in every part of you. It's in your heart. It's in your mind. It's in your soul. It's in your children. It's in your home. It's in your energetic field. It's in your bones. It's who you are as well. And it's not something you can easily forget. And it doesn't mean you'll never be the same. You won't be the same. But you won't be worse. You'll be better. And you carry that love with you all the time. You know, when you lay down to sleep, you can imagine that your loved one is behind you or in front of you, just giving you a hug. Imagine that their arms are around you and their warmth. You can feel their warmth against your body. You can imagine that they're in the bathroom, you know, having a shave or having a shower, or doing their hair. You can imagine that they're in the kitchen making you a coffee or making brekkie. Or any of the things that you used to do, you can imagine that you're doing them together. And you can literally hold out your hand and imagine they're putting their hand in yours. And just feel the warmth. And feel how it carries throughout your whole body and just makes you feel comforted. And loving and loved, because you can do all of that. And who's to say that's not happening on some level? So be patient with yourself. And understand that it is a process. And it takes as long as it takes. And that there is help out there for you if you would like to process what you're feeling and go in deep inside into all the things that you feel. And share the things you're feeling. And it can be a really wonderful process to get down beneath that surface level and really understand the feelings which may seem quite complicated. And grief is full of so many little tiny emotions, feelings, situations, beliefs, attitudes, experience. And although we feel like grief is happening to us and we didn't choose grief, there may be some truth to the fact that you did choose it at some level. And that moment happened when you fell in love with that person. And you knew you were in love, like you knew it was love. When you realize you love someone, you also realize that you could be separated from them somehow. And yet the deal was done, and you loved them, and they loved you. And then with their passing, you know, it's kind of like the offset of loving someone, is knowing that there'll be a reaction to them being separated from you. And this is it, this is grief. You chose love. Maybe you didn't choose love, maybe it just happened. But grief is like the natural offspring of love. Maybe that's not true. But the love is what would be preferable to think about than the loss. And remember the love.